or else we're streaming, I'm not sure. This is CLCI with Lunch and Learn, where we sit down with our level 2 students who are about to graduate today, and we go over their business and marketing questions going forward into the coaching world and any other questions that they might have about coaching or well, I'll answer anything in general. I don't care what kind of question it is. Yeah, and so we encourage participation as well. So if you have questions, you want to, write them down in the comments. If you have your own input as well, because me and Brooke are not the final arbiters of knowledge, and we understand you guys bring your own personal and professional experience to the table. So if you've got a great answer as well to somebody's question, feel free to jump into the conversation. Short introduction. My name is Anthony. I am the project director with Certified Life Coach Institute. I take care of a lot of the background stuff, and I've worked with Brooke in marketing as well. So I know a thing or two about building a website, copywriting, copy editing, things of that nature. Brooke, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Brooke. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at CLCI. I am also have a big background in marketing. I do the marketing here for CLCI, at least I head it up. There's a lot of people who do it, not just me. I also used to run a successful marketing company, and I've worked in the entertainment field for a long time as well. That is, I think, about the what people need to know at the moment. I'm excited to hear from you guys and hear whatever questions you guys have.
Yeah, so who would like to go first? I'll either take a raising of hands or somebody can just ask a question.
Everybody's scared.
Someone's...
So, I mean, anything at all, anything you guys have questions, concerns, nervous about. Is there anything leaving this class that has you guys?
I saw Jessica's hand come up first.
Yeah, I'll throw one out there. So I'm just getting started in all this. And, there's been a bit of advice in both classes on marketing and how to go about that. But, I think the biggest question I would have, which is a loaded one, but how do you start?
You start by taking the first step.
That's something I could turn right back to you. How do you start? How do you start, Jessica?
I don't know, right? So, I have had some ideas, right, where it's going, okay, you get on social media or try to find something local where you get involved in some groups. Do you need a website? Do you not need a website? There's so much information out there and there's so much advice. And it's been really difficult to not get lost in that scene.
I think we can really simplify this for you. And it's something that we really do try to drive home, but we still give you so much information that it's probably easily lost. But you start with who your client is. It all comes back to that. And if you know that, if you know who your ideal client is, who that person is that you are serving, what it is they need most, how they talk, where they are, what they're doing, where they're on, out in the world, what they are monitoring, what they need to hear, that is truly where you begin, is with that, figuring out who that is. So if you want, we could do a quick exercise with you. Who is your ideal client?
So my ideal client is a mid to senior level executive woman that is either trying to avoid burnout or has burned out and wants to recover.
So I'm going to back you up a little bit. And bear with me, this might feel uncomfortable. It's something I always say. This might feel awkward or uncomfortable. So you said a mid to senior level executive. Well, we're picking one person. We're just going to choose one human being. So is she mid or senior level?
Senior
level. And how old is she?
43.
She's 43. Okay. And is she burned out or is she worried she's burning out?
She's worried she's burning out.
So she's not yet, but she's on her way.
Yes.
What are the signs that she's burning out? How does she know this?
She's having a really hard time finding any passion for what she does for a living anymore. She's feeling stretched to give anything to her personal relationships after work. She is maybe not sleeping. She's definitely noticing a shift in how she shows up in her daily life.
Okay.
What is she afraid is going to happen if things continue the way they do?
I'm not sure. It depends on the person, but I would think that she's either afraid that she's going to lose something, that she can't manage it all. So something's going to fall through the cracks.
So a couple things before we continue in this space, because I want to continue in this space, but I want to circle back to the question that you said before we go down this road is where do I start? So let's name her. Can we give her a name?
Sure. Let's call her Jane.
Jane. Okay.
Sure.
So Jane, what does Jane need to see to find you?
I don't know. A referral or I don't know. That's where I'm stuck.
Okay, so with the referral, that's a big thing right there. That's a big referral's great. We'll go back there really quick, and then I want to delve into the meat and potatoes of how you're going to speak to her. But referral, once she's been referred to you, what does she need to see? What research is she going to do? How is she going to vet you?
So I've got a website that's not done yet, but it is obtained, and I've got somebody helping me build it out. I've got an idea for the format there. So she'll have that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to pause there so that we don't go into the weeds. That's why I'm pausing right now. So we've got two things. We've got referral and we've got website. So we know those are two very important things for Jane. I would also probably say that on that website, in the same vein as referral, will be testimonials, will be heavy and important in that space, right? And how were able to specifically help those people that will resonate with Jane. So referral, where is Jane getting her referrals?
Whoever came before Jane.
Not necessarily though, right? Possibly.
Sure.
One of the things I would ask you, and I mean, we just going to sort of share it so we don't get lost here. We are able to help other people. Is referral may not be just the clients prior to you. If you have built trust with anybody in this space, in her space. So if it's fellow executives, if it's people that you know that are already doing this, and it might be as simple as putting your card in their hand or letting them know that you're offering this service. And they may not be the one you're serving, but they might know people that you can serve. Also, if we're thinking about this space, okay, she's an executive, how is she searching for this person? If we're talking referrals, I'm just sort of exploring. I'm like, okay, would she do a Google search, and would that even hold validity with her? Would that get her anywhere? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Is she considering seeing a therapist? So maybe there's a space where you can start working with people who are doing therapists that already have clientele in this space, then those kind of that are already serving those kind of clientele. And you could come in as a secondary, hey, I coach, therapists work on this part, I can work on this part. And you can start to build a referral network with people who are already serving her. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. And I definitely have some clarity now in that question of where I go for that.
Yeah. So so it makes it much simpler when we just go back to Jane. Who is Jane talking to? Who is Jane listening to? What does Jane need to hear? So then we can sort of start to dive into the what does Jane need to hear portion of this. And so one of the things you started to go there with lost her passion. She's, her personal relationships are suffering. She's not sleeping. She's going to lose something. I would get very specific. What is she afraid she's losing? How is she talking to herself at the end of the night? What does she need? What job are you serving her? Like, how are you specifically helping this woman, and speak to her what's going on inside of her and in her heart? And don't be afraid to have that be what you come forward with in your copy on your website.
Awesome.
Makes it a little simpler though. That's what, if you always go back to that client and what they need, it'll be different for everybody. Some people, their client it's going to be that they're on social media. Some people, it's going to be that referral network. Some people, it will be a Google search, but it's about knowing where your client is, so that then you can start there, start where they're at. Don't start anywhere else, because why would you?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Vina.
Hi, so I have actually 3 questions, but they might just be silly. But how do you come up with the name for your business? Like something that's memorable, and like how do you come up with the name? Because I have ideas, but I just don't know, like, how do people come up with the name?
So there's a few things you need to consider with the name. One, that it doesn't overlap with someone else in the same industry. You don't want to have a similar business name to someone else who is also a coach, because that will lead to confusion down the line. It's probably the first thing that I would try to consider.
So there's actually, one of the things I would also refer you guys to, your level 1 books. In the back of the level 1 book, there's like I put together a list of like cardinal rules, like and they're very good cardinal rules, and I would really pay attention to them, but just to sort of name what they are, and to give you a leg up. Because one of the things that we consider, and I've considered when I've worked with clients as they're naming their businesses, is there's some tools that you want to have in there, and those tools are going to be including a keyword is usually very beneficial. And so that would be the word coach. If what you're offering is coach, I would put coach in your name somewhere. I absolutely would, because that's going to benefit you in SEO. That's going to benefit you in many ways later.
So let's take our business name, for example, Certified Life Coach Institute. There's not a lot of frill to that name. It clearly expresses what it is that you are getting from our institute. You become a certified life coach. And life coach by itself is a keyword in Google. So if you're looking up best life coach, schools or institutes, programs, Certified Life Coach Institute is going to be at the top of that list. Thanks to, Brooke's Google foo and the metadata and the tagging, but it has the keyword in the title of what someone is looking for.
And that'll also bring me to another point. Simple. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And I take that as far as, if your name is really hard to spell, I would probably not put your name in your business, because people need to be able to just search you. It needs to be able to roll off the tongue, and you don't want to be stuck having to spell out your business name every time you say your business name to somebody. So simplicity is key, is critical. Make sure it's easy to spell. Make sure it's spelled correctly. It might seem kitschy and fun to spell coach with a K, but that means that from there forward, you're going to have to say coach with a K at the end of everything you say, and hope that people remember it.
Also, no one's going to be searching in Google coach with a K.
So certain things that just make you easier to find, because it's going to you could get lost in the weeds if you've got something cutely spelled, or if you've got anything of that nature. Just make sure it's simple and straightforward and spelled correctly, so that when somebody sits down, they've heard of you, maybe it rolls off the tongue, they can just type it in, and boom, there you are.
Yeah.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right?
Final thought on that. The name, considering all those other things, which are very important, is also pretty arbitrary. You'll get stuck, and I see a lot of people get stuck on the business name, and they've got all these ideas. You're ultimately not going to know that it's the best idea until you actually go through with it, because it's easy to just work yourself into a cycle and try to really tweak and finagle the name to sound absolutely perfect. And And that tends to hold a lot of people back because they are afraid of just putting the name out there. So there's going to be a point where you have to pick something and then commit to it, and everything should reflect the business name after that.
And it's also, if you've got a business name that is either, very specific or very generic, it's okay, because what's really gonna communicate to people, it's less about your name, that's gonna communicate. Mind you, it is important, it is your brand. What is gonna communicate though is the dialogue, the substance, the meat and potatoes of what you're putting out there, and who you are and who you are helping and how you can help them. And that message is going to come forward. What your name serves is as a vehicle to easily remember who you are and easily find you. So that's really what I would say most importantly is a lot of thought can go into that, but make it as easy on your client as possible to figure out how to find you, and do that with your name for sure. So
Thank you for that. So I have two really quick questions because I'm sure everybody has questions, but the other two quick questions are, how do you, I guess, how does Google work in terms of like, how do you become like the first or second, like when you Google it, and how do you become the first result or the second result? And then my other question is, do you need to have, or not do you need to, should you have an About Me page, kind of tell your story or how you even got into coaching, or like, should you have a page like that on your website? So those are the two questions.
Maybe you take the first question, I'll take the second
I
question.
was thinking the exact same thing. I'll take the SEO question and you can take the other. So what you're speaking about when you come up first or second, that's what we call SEO, or search engine optimization. And what that is essentially a bunch of little rules that we have to follow, and things we have to do in order for Google, which is really the primary search engine. I think they have like 92% of the market share when it comes to searching. So what that means is we have to follow certain rules so that then we can be brought up that page, boom, 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 so that we can come up first. How do we do that? Because that's scary. Well, little things that I've already mentioned. There's a whole guide to this in the back of the level 1 book as well, just so you know. But having a keyword in your name helps. Having keywords, making sure everything on your website, like as simple as having the same keyword that's in your name, in your title on that page, and also in your description, also reflected on your home page. So like boom, 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 all three, having all those, because it's showing Google we're consistent. It's showing Google that we can take this seriously. This is a consistent website. So Google is always, they're looking for ways to take you seriously. How else can they take you seriously? Well, if you go into your photos, and what you can do, and it's pretty simply done on every website now, and you just put a description in of what that photo is. So if it's a person standing there with their arm on their shoulder, you type in man in a business suit, posing, something like that. Why? Because what Google wants is for your website to also be able to be surfed by visually impaired. And so doing those descriptions is essentially saying, including those people. And so now that's going to boost you up. The next big thing is Google wants to see content on your website. They want to see that your website is providing helpful content to whomever. And that content needs to be relevant to what you do. So if you are talking about coaching, I'm going to give you a sort of a metaphor in this space. So if I'm opening a hardware store, my articles are going to be about building things, right? I'm going to write blog articles. I'm going to do videos about building and the things I'm selling in my hardware store. And it will all be in that realm. If I am opening a hardware store and then I'm talking about something that is not at all related to the things I'm selling, Google is now not going to take me as seriously. And it's not about the amount of content you're putting out. It's about how thorough it is. So be thorough, write long, thorough blogs, do videos that are in depth and thorough and show expertise. That's more important than putting out a whole bunch of them. The other thing too that will tremendously benefit you is partnering with people who already have credibility. So if I am opening a small hardware store and I'm able to approach Home Depot and go, hey, Home Depot, I want to list you as, in one of my articles as well, maybe it's somebody who works for Home Depot, or I don't know, who's like a big builder that everybody knows about out there. What?
I said Bob.
Bob Vila. So I go, hey, Bob Vila, I'm going to list you as one of the foremost, most knowledgeable people in this space. And I'm going to do this on my website in one of my blogs. And it's a big shout out to you. If you'd be willing to maybe post a link to this on your website, or post, something on your website, a link to my article about you, it would be amazing. And a lot of people are willing to do this. So if you find coaches that are already established, therapists that are already established, even people that are providing tools for your clients that already have traffic and are established, and you're able to reach out to them and say, hey, would you share, I'm going to write an article about you, will you put the link in yours? And what you've done now is created what we call backlinking, is what we call it. So by doing that, and if that person, if Bob Vila links back to me, my little hardware store, now Google goes, oh, well, Bob Vila's vetted. Suddenly I'm doing so much better in the eyes of Google, and I get moved up that rank. So one thing to consider with SEO is it's a long-term game. It's not something you can sit down tomorrow and get it all done and see the results the next day. This is something that takes, you'll start to see results in 6 months. You'll start to see more results in 12 months. You'll start to, so it's something that happens over time, and it's something that you have to continually kind of go in and keep up and love, and just always sort of keep your pulse on. But once it's in place and it's working, it will make your life tremendously more easy, and it does benefit you hugely. So.
Thank you.
Anthony's turn.
Final question about how necessary is a bio. My question would be then, how are the clients going to trust you and know that you have an expertise in what you're doing? I know for a fact myself, any service I go to the About Me, because I'm a very, I'm a naturally skeptical person. So I want to know, what is this person's credentials? Should I trust this person? So if I was, I don't know, a marriage coach, and nowhere in my, I don't have a bio, or maybe I do have a bio, but nowhere in my bio does it say I was ever married at any point, why would people even consider me as a marriage coach had I not been married?
I'm going to take it one step further for you, Anthony, because I've seen Anthony vet people, because we do our CLCI lives, and I'll post an article, or post a blog, or we'll post a TED talk, and watched him go back. Who is this person? Why do I take them seriously? Why should I listen to this human being? And it becomes very, very important. But when we're talking about, like, if we're talking about something philosophy related or something along those lines, he's going to go back and do his research. But I'm going to ask you a question, Anthony. What makes you take someone seriously?
Consistency in what they are delivering versus what their expertise and who they are. So I will see a medical doctor sometimes provide a hardcore talk on philosophy, where they do have the expertise in the medical field, but what they're delivering is not medical related at all. That gives me a red flag. Whereas if I saw a medical doctor giving a TED talk on something in the medical field that he is researching, completely different story. I'm way more likely to spend my time and attention on what he's delivering. So when you are writing your own bio, what you're doing is providing trust and credibility to the person who may be a bit skeptical, maybe on the fence, and what they need is to get to know you a little bit better so that they're able to flip and turn into, a discovery call or even a sale. Because a lot of people are going to look at you and say, okay, this person's a coach. What qualifies them as a coach? Why are they coaching in this specific field? How does their personal experience even relate to what they're delivering? Because again, if I am saying I'm a marriage coach, don't mention anywhere I've ever been married or even had successful relationships in this regard, not a lot of people are going to take me seriously. So you want people to see that there is a similarity between who you are, what your education is, what your background is, and what you're delivering. because ultimately the person wants to trust that you can get them results and you have experience in what you're offering.
I want to piggyback onto that too. What we're not saying in this space, though, is that every marriage coach has to have had a 30-year successful marriage in order to be taken seriously as a marriage coach. What we're saying is there one of two things probably has to happen, and you have to. Well, I would say one big thing has to happen. Whatever you're speaking about in your About Me has to also reiterate how you can serve your client in what it is that they're doing. So you're really writing it for them. This is what I'm doing. This is why I can serve you. This is my experience. But that experience can come from two places. What I don't want people who had that personal experience portion, which Anthony spoke about, that being married. But the other place it can come from is, let's say you do have a tremendous amount of experience working as a couples therapist or a couples counselor. This is a danger, by the way, a couples counselor. And now you're bringing coaching into this field. Well, you can speak into that, and maybe you're not married, maybe that's not, but maybe you have 20 years of experience working with couples in a different capacity and doing it successfully. Absolutely include that in your About Me. But notice in both cases, what we're talking about is how our experience reiterates how it serves our client and how we can better serve our client. So just always remember that About Me. We might want to talk about everything in the world that we've done and all of the experiences we've had, but really whittle it down to what it is that you have done that will create more trust in how you can serve your client and what your client wants to hear in that space. So I would say About Me is really for them. As much as we want to make it for us, it is for them.
Thank you.
Persephone, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I was just going back to the SEOs for Vina. I have built several sites on Wix, and I don't know, Vina, what site you might be using, but I know that on Wix, if you go to the right space, and it is sometimes easy to find and sometimes not, but there are several different spaces in the dashboard where it specifically tells you what to put on each page. It's like your About page is missing a mention of your business name. Your prices page is missing, something about you. Like, it will tell you individually by page what to put on. And it might take some time to sit down and weed through it, but it is very thorough. And I imagine other website builders are the same.
Squarespace, Wix and Squarespace are similar in that regard, where there's a little checklist for each page you have on your website that you go over and fill out.
I think they call it the SEO wizard, and I'm a huge fan of Wix for that. I will say Wix has made my job so much easier as a human being, and I appreciate it to the nth degree. And the additional piece that Wix does, and I'm not sure so much sure if Squarespace does this, Wix also makes it pretty easy to get in, and if you want to get to the deeper dive in SEO and do like work in the metadata as well. But Wix really has put together a format that really serves their client and makes that back end stuff easier. They've already made it so that they automatically input the descriptions in most of your photos, especially if you pull photos from their stock. Those photos are already meta tagged for you going in. Makes life so much easier.
So they do need the descriptions, though. I still have to do that. Yeah. What other questions did people have? We got how much time?
We have about 9 minutes, and we'll probably see Dan here soon. You could just pick our brains about anything.
Sarah, Lisa, Jared.
I see Raymond and Rhonda have hands up. We just can't see them.
I can't see them.
That's okay.
Hi.
Please.
So real quick, can I just thoughts on remarketing and sales funnels?
Remarketing and sales funnels. Well,
because I have some automations built into my plan. So if you go to my website and you start going around and you input information, I will email you back again to say, hey, I saw you on my page. Do you want to explore further? How can I help you?
Absolutely. Honestly, what you'll find out too in marketing, the email marketing is one of the strongest strongest places to pull conversions from, to get actual people to come in and buy products from you. That's because they've given you permission to email them. That's the biggest thing is you always want to collect information. When somebody goes to your site, the best thing you can do is collect their information and capture it in some way. And you can do that a number of ways.
Also between states, some states allow you to collect information differently, like California is a little bit weird on how you use the information that you collect.
Well, yes, and that's the cookies, the reselling,
the reselling the information, I'm a bit iffy on. I'd rather make my money actually delivering a service than just selling information from one person to another. But essentially, the asking for more information, or signing up for like a blog or something else, a newsletter, you collect that information and then you can market to it at a later time.
That's what the biggest thing is, collecting. I would say the most important thing is collecting information so that you can, and if somebody opts into your email list, that means they've given you permission to speak to them, to continue to contact them. And that is huge with regard to conversions, because that means that they're interested. They're giving you a big green light. And so to not reach back out to them again would be it would be unfortunate. If you're losing an opportunity there.
I want to give a bit of advice too. This is specifically me working in Constant Contact, which is like an email marketing campaign thing. You want to make sure you're delivering actual valuable content and not spamming the people with emails, because the more people that unsubscribe to your emails, the more likely that Google is going to filter. I don't know if it's Con or Google, but the more likely it's going to get filtered into the spam, and you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure you have a low rate of people unsubscribing to your emails.
That's going to be true across the board with content, guys. Like, let me just be frank there, at least from my experience. You always want to be providing something of value and not just spamming anywhere. Like, always make sure what you're doing is providing something of value, and the value you will get back for the time and energy that takes will be shown in spades. So I would absolutely say, just whatever you're doing, make sure that you are taking a moment to think about what it is, and you're not just, mind you can repurpose your content, break it up into micro content, reuse it 100 different ways, so you can create something that's very thorough and big, and then utilize it 100 different ways and microbite it and just do all different things with it. But whatever you're doing should be providing value to whom you're serving.
Rhonda, we can move on to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. My computer's working today. All righty. Something that was said yesterday in the class has resonated with me, and I was up in the middle. Well, no, I was actually in bed in the middle of the night scrolling, trying to see what I could do. Like offering a free class on how to do something that benefits your target audience and I hate to make people sound like merchandise, but the ultimate goal is to, since you're creating this targeted group of people who stopped everything to come to your event, then now you can upsell them. So my question is, do you have any suggestions about the different types of classes? Like Daniel mentioned one about how to create a vision board, a digital vision board, and use it as wallpaper on your phone, which I thought, I can do that. That's good. And so, but then I was thinking, what else could I do? And I was wondering if you had any suggestions, or if you thought bad idea or.
No, not a bad idea at all. There's one thing I will flip it back to you a bit, which is, what does your client need? So like that, whatever, you've got to first think, what does my client need? What's going to speak to them? And that's what I would build that class around. So if we take, the burnout example, Jane, our ideal client, Jane from earlier, who's burning out, she's not sleeping, she's worried about that. Creating a class around what may serve her, which might be setting boundaries, which might be working up the courage to leave her job, which might be, whatever that is, but creating something that speaks to her and her needs. And that's what I would do for my classes and what I was teaching. My only caution in this space is don't build an entire large group of anything around people who are not willing to pay you. So I mean, it might take a minute. Sometimes it's a matter of, okay, I have to realize that this has value before I'm willing to charge for it and things like that. But even charging a small amount of money will tell you that the folks that are coming into that class for that small amount of money are far more likely to then pay you a slightly more amount of money later. A lot of people out there on the internet, I mean, I've gotten a lot of questions, clients, people, they're like, well, I have this whole group of, I'm doing it and it's free, but nobody is converting, nobody's paying me, I'm like, well, you've built an entire audience around people that are used to getting free stuff from you, and now you're asking for money from them, and that can be hard. So you want to sort of, some point early on, start to separate from the pack. Mind you, it's fine to have a huge following, but start to find ways to separate from the pack, whether it be little offerings that you ask money for, so that then you can start to focus on the needs and the marketing towards the ones who are going to actually pay you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
All right, Jared.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. So the company that I'm starting is half consulting, half coaching. And I played in the NFL for 6 years. And so like my passion is teaching kids and training kids. So there's a consulting side of that where I got to tell you what to do and where to step and all that. And then there's the coaching side, which I don't think is being implemented enough in these young athletes, especially the ones that go to college and are going through the challenges of a bad coach or being lonely away from their family, and they don't have that other person to talk to. And I guess my question is how would you go about, because I've thought about it in a couple of ways, but how would you go about, my audience is the parents of these kids, like they're not paying me, like it's a consent form that they're going to have to sign, whether they're in high school. Okay, you're 18, you want to still, and you pay for this type of service or whatever it is. But while they're not an adult, how do you go about marketing parents in a way that's saying like, I'm trying to not be your kid's parent or coach or tell your kid what to do, but have you be there for your kid as a space to work and get to know themselves so that they're okay with whatever comes up.
So here's my first question for you is, who is searching you? Who's finding you first?
Definitely the kids, because of the space that I've put myself in. Like I coach high school football, and then I train already in that space in a gym. So
the kids are finding you first, and it is you have like a 2-level marketing kind of thing then. So yeah, you've got to be able to speak to the kids, but then you have to be able to sell the parents right at the end, and prove that you're worthy to them. Anthony, did you have a question?
No, I was going to address sort of the same thing, because you have a kid who is the filter or the gatekeeper to the parent.
Yeah.
So the message has to both align with getting the kids interested, and then the parents also thinking it's a good idea, which can cause some friction sometimes because parents don't automatically or necessarily trust their, every kid's decision or idea.
Right.
So
that's an interesting
you could even, there's different ways to play with it. I would definitely approach it that you are having to sort of sell yourself in 2 different spaces, but make sure that they are complementary. So you could go as far as to have a for the athlete section and a for the parents section.
Yeah.
So that they can do both.
Yeah, like my first idea that came to mind was to have a presentation of those junior and senior parents on the coach, or on the football team, where I'm just only talking to them in a parent meeting. It takes 20 minutes to get that out there and talk to them as a parent and coach sort of relationship. And then I've already got to know like a lot of these high school kids and just being around that age group in general and what's going on. So that's kind of was my first idea at it, of, like you said, separate it but realize it's all together. Like they're involved with this. It's not just like I'm talking to their kid and they don't know. It's not it.
And just, I would also make sure that they're, whatever you do, you're consistent across both lines. So,
Okay.
mind you, you can flex your language, you can flex what the needs are, you can flex, but just make sure that it's, it doesn't, you're being consistent in both spaces with what you do and how you can do it. And I would also get testimonials from both the parents and the kids,
Yeah.
not just one or the other.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you.
Heather, we'll try to answer the last few questions as quickly as we can.
I think I saw Dan is back.
Yes.
So
you answered a lot of my questions when you were talking to Jared. I'm actually wanting to specialize in adolescent coaching. And my question specifically, the one that I didn't feel like I got what I wanted on it, was when we're marketing because I don't have a football team. I know, it's a surprise. I did not play for the club. I was really, really close, but I didn't make the cut. So when we're marketing online, you said have the different sections, one for teens, one for parents. Is there anything else that you would do to reach them? Because most of mine will have to be through online because it will not be on the field.
So if it's online, it's a different space then. So who is searching you?
That's the good question. I assume in my mind, it's probably going to be parents. They're going to be the ones who are like, I need to help my child figure out what's going on. They will probably also be paying for it because adolescents don't usually pay for a lot.
So I would speak to the parents then, because
Okay.
one of the things you might be helping I've worked with other coaches who are doing this in other spaces, more specifically, I think Anthony and I once helped somebody that was working with neurodivergent children, and the parents of those people, and serving the parents. I think this coach was serving the parents more than the student in this space. But one of the things that isn't spoken to, if we're speaking to the parent, don't be afraid to talk about what that parent's fears are for their child, what that that's where you're going to really speak to the things that are going on with their kid, or what that they want help with, and how you can help both the child and the parent in that situation, and how you help the parent by helping their child, right? Like if it's having peace of mind, if it's having, knowing that this is the best path, if it's whatever that is that parent wants for that child, because if they're the ones searching, then you're really are going to be the one speaking to them. Yep. And speaking to what it is they need and why, what job are they hiring you for? What are they hiring you to do? And it sounds like very kind of technical when I say that, but it's a simple, one of the examples I give is why does somebody buy a milkshake, right? There was a study done. This is an actual study where they go, what job is this milkshake doing? And you think, well, it's a milkshake. It's probably just a sweet thing or what have you. But it turned out they did a big study at Burger King, and most milkshakes were being sold in the morning. Most of them were being bought by businessmen on their way to going through a long commute. And so now, wait, that changes everything about the way I just looked at what this milkshake is. I know now that if I have a line that gets the businessmen through the line quicker, if I'm able to speak to the viscosity and the that it will last you the whole drive, and it will keep you stimulated, and you'll have a sugar rush or what have you to get you going at work in the morning. My marketing is just completely flexed into a different space. So when I say like what job is being done, what are these parents hiring you for, that then you can go, okay, this is what it's going to specifically do for you and your child, and these are the results you'll see, and this is how you're going to feel at the end. And I would talk and for whatever that is in your space, we could of course dive into it deeper if we had the time, but we're sort of in a rush.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you being here.
Thank you for having us. We enjoy being here. Dan, we're going to turn it back over to you now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll cease the live stream, and then we can have them chat and do the other. But let's pop the live stream, and then we'll bring it around.
All right, I'm going to quickly sign off then. Make sure those of you out there watching, please subscribe. YouTubers, subscribe to our channel, and like, comment, and all that. We do monitor, and check out Certified Life Coach Institute. We certified life coaches in 3 days.